Hi, my name is Noria. I'm an incoming freshman in animation at the School of Visual Arts, and this is my 5-scoring AP Art portfolio. The drawing portfolio is divided into 3 sections: written evidence, sustained investigation, and selected works. Written evidence is a couple hundred characters describing your sustained investigation, aka your thesis, basically what your portfolio is about. It also asks you to describe the processes you used when creating your sustained investigation, as well as any major themes or ideas that guided your process. You have to submit 15 photographs for your sustained investigation, but you don't necessarily have to submit 15 pieces. I, for instance, only did 10 pieces, but also did 5 close-up shots. Like all other AP classes, the AP portfolio is graded on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest, and 3 being a passing grade. So without further ado, let's get into the portfolio. We're gonna do written evidence first. Okay, the first prompt in the written evidence section is identify the inquiry that guided your sustained investigation, essentially asking, what is your portfolio about? I'll put my response up on the screen as I read it. My portfolio centers on the concept of growing up and represents a reflection upon my past, present, and future. Because I was accelerated in school, I matured faster than my peers and I'm now moving out at an earlier age. I explored multiple themes in my work, including my path in life, shown in pieces 6, 7, and 8, a reflection on my developing sense of self, pieces number 4 and 10, and support versus independence in pieces number 1, 2, 3, 5, and 10, all of which are internal conflicts spawned from my unusual circumstance. The next prompt is to describe ways your sustained investigation developed through practice, experimentation, and revision. Once again, I'll put my response up here as I read it. I experimented with media to explore what effectively allowed me to incorporate arbitrary color, semi-realism, and a shift in theme from childhood to young adulthood in my body of work. I learned to layer paint, markers, and pencils to achieve a textured yet realistic look to represent the present while using oils and crayons to depict my childhood. Through this process, I became unhappy with how number 7 conveyed my idea of uncertainty, leaving me to remake it as number 8. Changes in dominant color demonstrate emotional shifts, with blue, orange, and green symbolizing calm, anxiety, and discomfort, respectively. Some things I wasn't able to mention in my written evidence because of the character limit, which I think is about 150 to 200, I think. I attempted to do a gradient in color from piece to piece, so every piece has a remnant of the previous piece inside of it to make them all blend together and be chronologically seamless, I suppose. That was really difficult because I didn't make my pieces in the order that I submitted them to AP, so I was constantly referencing each piece and trying to figure out where I wanted them to go when I submitted them while I was in the process of making them, and haven't even had finished making them all yet. It was really complicated and very stressful, and I don't really know if it paid off, but I think it's cool, so I'm happy. My portfolio is also arranged chronologically based on the past and the present, my childhood, and me right now, with pieces 5 and 6 serving as transition pieces. So let's get into my portfolio. So this is the first piece that came in my portfolio. This piece is called Baby Bath Time. It was actually the 9th piece that I made in total for my portfolio. There's not really a deeper message to this piece. I made it sort of as like a visual placeholder for a time period in my life. AKA I ran out of ideas, kinda. I was in a rough place. I was trying to rush some pieces so I could get my portfolio done. And I wanted to do something of me as a baby, but I wasn't really sure like what conceptually I wanted to do. So I kind of just settled on making a cute picture, making it look really cute, and just putting it in there to be like, hey, I was a baby once. It's a picture of me in the bath when I was little, and my mom is the arm reaching behind me to wash me. It kind of just ties into the overall themes of my portfolio of childhood and support, like I mentioned in my written evidence. It is a copy of a reference photo. It is a reference photo that I own personally. I try not to do that in my work pretty much at all, but I was kind of in a pinch and it fit the theme and what I was doing for my past. My other pieces were references of my old childhood photos. This one is just kind of a direct copy. Again, this piece wasn't really meant to be anything super special or insightful. It was just kind of like a visual timepiece saying that this is the start of my life, this is the start of my portfolio. My second piece is called Passing the Snow Shovel. It is also oil on canvas. I think it's about 14 by 18 or 16 by 18, something like that. It's based off a childhood photo of me and my dad in the snow, and I've changed it to where his shadow is holding my hand and passing me this snow shovel, sort of like passing the torch, but reinterpreted in one of my core childhood memories. It's about taking on responsibilities in adult life and reflecting on my parents and their parental roles in my life. I also included a detailed shot of this piece in my portfolio, which I will put up here on the screen right now so you guys can see it. Yeah, I really like this piece. I like how it turned out. It's one of my personal favorites, and I also included this in my selected works. My third piece is called I Heart My Best Friend. It's also oil on canvas, but this time it has oil pastel on top to make it seem like crayon. I mentioned earlier that I used oil for the first half of my portfolio, and that's because it has this really nice textured, nostalgic feel. I think oil pastels feel really creamy, and if you do it right, kind of washed out and like vintage. And it's also just a classic medium, and so I felt like it was the really correct choice for representing that certain time period and making a visual differentiation between the past and the present in my body of work. This is a really sweet piece, also based off of another childhood photo, except this time of me and my best friend. And this version of it that I have here is actually not the finished version because I hated the way my face looked when I submitted it. And the picture, I don't like my face in it. And so I repainted it or painted over it to finish later after I submitted it, but I used that picture as a placeholder until I got around to fixing it. And I never did, and I probably should because I'm moving in about a month. And I need to finish that before I leave. But this half of it is, I really, really like. It took me forever. And if you want to see how I made this piece, I have an entire YouTube video about that on my page. It's my studio vlog, or my AP studio art vlog. And you guys can go check it out if you want to. I also did a close-up of this one in my portfolio. Here is that close-up, because that is, I think, a really proud moment for me, technically, executing those really tiny details with that level of realism. I just wasn't able to do my face properly. My fourth piece is called My Name Goes Here. I don't actually know where this one is. I definitely have it, I'm just not sure where. It's, I think, my second least favorite. I really like the concept of it, and it was a piece I've been thinking about for a really long time. Except I got to a point in my portfolio where I was trying to rush pieces together because I fell behind during college application season. So I made this piece in about 4 hours, and it's on an 8x11 little piece of marker paper. But I really like the concept. I just don't think it's executed that well because obviously I made it in 4 hours. It's by no means awful, but it also doesn't live up to the standards of the other pieces I've created because my other pieces would take me anywhere from 15 to 30 hours, and this one took me 4. It's a statement about finding your identity as you grow up and also retaining your childlike sense of joy and humor, and also figuring out who you are as a person. The title was actually improvised because when you submit your AP portfolio, and I did not know this while making my portfolio, you're not allowed to include anything that references your name or your personal information, including in the title. And the title was originally Noria, all caps, because that's my name. But I had to change it last minute, and so this is the name that I thought up, and I actually think it fits better because it's ambiguous and you're figuring out who you are, and I think it really represents the theme of the piece better. I think both work. I think this one fits and is more universal, however. The fifth piece is called Comfort. This is very large and it is done entirely in colored pencil on the top. But before this, I did an acrylic gouache underpainting so that the colored pencil would go on a little bit better than it would just on paper. I really love doing that. That's something I figured out while I made my portfolio, is that colored pencil layers really, really well on top of acrylic gouache. The stars I added with Posca marker. I don't know if you can see. There we go. There's lots of them. I think it took me an hour alone just to do all these little itty bitty stars. This piece probably took me about 30 to 35 hours. It was one of the longest ones. but also is one of the most technically fulfilling for me. It won a Scholastic Silver Medal for drawing and illustration, as well as a first place ribbon at the Central Kentucky Art Guild, and it was also one of my selected works when I submitted it to my AP portfolio. I wanted it to feel super dreamy, so there's this really like rainbowy tint to everything. You might be able to see better in a picture. I'm really proud of the textures I was able to achieve. I actually had never drawn fur before I made this piece, and I think I literally did, if I remember correctly, I did have a panic attack while I made this because I was so lost and I was scared. I just like committed myself to making a piece entirely filled with stuffed animals and I had no idea how to do fur. It worked out though. I learned and I overcame, and it's one of the most fulfilling pieces I've ever made. It's probably one of my favorites. And I really like it, and I think I figured it out in the end. My sixth piece is called Tools of the Trade. It's hanging up in my living room right now, so I can't really go get it. It's probably either my favorite or my second favorite that I've done. It's also mixed media with acrylic wash, markers, colored pencil, and Posca markers. It's the first piece I made for my portfolio. I thought it really set the stage for everything and represented my growth as a person overall as an artist, which is why I chose it as one of the in-betweens along with Comfort, because it kind of existed in both the past and the present, and it was representative of both eras. I love this piece, especially because I think it was one of the first times. I don't really make a lot of finished work, so it was one of the first times that I looked at something I made and was like, wow, like I'm really proud that I did that. It also won a Scholastic Gold Medal, and I'm very happy with it. I put it in my college portfolio and I got scholarships, and I am just very happy that I was able to achieve this, and this piece really inspired me to keep going on the rest of my art portfolio. And yeah, I really like it. I actually hate this one so much. It is so big. It is humongous. It is humongous. It's like, I think it's a 24 by 26. Way too big. I don't know why I did this. I like working big, and this was too much. Don't ever do this. Just don't. Word of advice. I'm gonna go put this back now. So this is Academic Pathway, and it's probably my least favorite piece that I made for my portfolio and maybe ever. The idea is that I'm exploring different careers, school, like my future, my academic pathway. Oh my gosh, it's the title. Yeah. This was the second piece I made immediately after my first one. I did not live up to the hype. I was kind of like, oh, where do I go from here? And this is what I came up with, and I went really overambitious with it. I made it way too big for me to execute in a small space of time, which is probably about 2 weeks, 1.5 weeks. It is very rushed and it looks like it. I generally don't like it. I don't think it looks like me very much. It's not terrible by any means. It just really does not live up to the standards of the other work that I made for this portfolio, and also what I know that I'm capable of. I like the composition and I like the colors, but overall it's not my favorite. I actually disliked it so much that I remade it into this piece, which is way better in my opinion, and it won a blue ribbon at a local art fair. It's also one of my favorites that I've made. I really like it. It's called Academic Pathway Part 2. It's markers, acrylic wash, and colored pencils like my last couple pieces have been. It's basically about having your plans blow up in your face, or like I made it blow up inside your head, but in your face, kinda, because it's my face and it's inside my head and my face is on my head. I like how detailed it is. I also really like that I was able to achieve the effects I did with alcohol markers, because I know a lot of people don't think that alcohol markers are like fine art materials, but I really like to use them for that purpose, and I think they look great, and I really love how they looked on this. I think they're really good for work like this and making work that is realistic and detailed in a very short period of time. So cool. I really like it. I also included a close-up of this in my sustained investigation as one of my photographs, and that was also in my selected works. Also, I forgot to mention Tools of the Trade was also in my selected works, and I also took a close-up for that, as well as Comfort. My ninth piece is called Anti-Baby Candy. I actually didn't really like this one at first, but I got a really good critique on it from my art teacher in my class, and that kind of changed my mind about it a little bit. one man's trash is another man's treasure, and sometimes the things you don't like about your own art are the things that people love about it. And that was a really important lesson for me to learn when I continue making my portfolio, and I'm really thankful for that. I loved my art teacher. Shout out Beverly Dowell. I love you, Beverly Dowell. It's poking fun at taboos on sexual health, especially teen sexual health, and mixes childish and mature things like candy and birth control pills. It's kind of funny, but also kind of dark and off-putting, which was really the goal. I love using those weird, just stark color contrasts to really draw you in and literally make you stare at the work. I love it so much. The color in the background is also the color of my bathroom, and also the color people used to paint insane asylums with to calm the patients. Fun facts. I think that really adds to the piece. This one was a close-up too, and I also put this in my selected works. Last piece, this is my 10th piece called Late Stage Reflections. It's 19 by 24 inches, mixed media, colored pencil, acrylic gouache, alcohol marker, pen, etc. Just like the others. It's literally a drawing of me looking back on every version of myself I've ever been on every single day of my life. I love the concept of this one. I got a really positive response on social media, which I was kind of surprised by, since normally it's the realistic stuff that gets a higher or better response. And I was really happy that I did. I also included a close-up of this one in my portfolio. I thought it was a really fitting closer for my sustained investigation, since I'm looking back on the past and this is the last piece and it's in my late stage of development. I decided in about April that this is where I was gonna end it, because these 10 were the pieces I was submitting and I didn't feel like I needed to add anything more to it. I feel like I had completed this arc of this like story that I was trying to tell through my portfolio, and I kind of just gave myself a rest for the month of May until I had to submit it. I really like this piece. It's a crowd favorite and I'm really proud of it. This was also included in my AP art vlog if you want to see a little bit on how I made this one as well. That's it for my portfolio. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you want to see how I made a couple of these pieces, check out my last video, which is my AP art vlog pieces 6 through 8. Please leave a like and comment to let me know what you thought of this video, and also follow me on Instagram at Noria'sArt. If you want to subscribe and share, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye!